तोरवरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. In this video, I am going to describe about the real self as revealed by Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba during his various discourses to his devotees. So, video starts with the topic Know Thyself. This indicates the process of self-realization. Bhagwan Baba starts with his, as usual, saying embodiments of divine love. Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutasaya Sititaha. O Arjuna, I am the Atma that dwells in all living beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all things, declares Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. All that you see in the cosmos, the moving and stationary objects, is a manifestation of the Atma. In the spiritual realm, what you hear at every step is the Atma. What is seen is Atma. What is heard is Atma. What makes you forget is also Atma. That is why Krishna declared to Arjuna, in this universe there is nothing that is not Atma. What man needs today is to take the resolve to realize the Atma. This is tantamount to realizing one's true self. It is Atam Jnana, knowledge of the self, the first aim of human existence should be to experience Atam Ananda, Atmic bliss. Everyone should keep in mind the Atmic principle. This Atma is called Eruka, awareness. This awareness produces in every being the sense of I-ness. It is expressed in the term Aham, I. When this I identifies itself with the body, it takes the form of Ahankara. I am the doer, the ego. This is what is called Mithya, delusion. It is not the real I. I is the first sound emanating from Atma. It is the mind that continually interposes itself against the Atma, like the cloud formed out of the water vapor produced by the sun, which hides the sun. The mind which has arisen from the Atma covers the Atma. As long as the mind exists, man cannot comprehend the nature of the Atma or realize the Atma. Only the person who is aware of the Atma in all the different states of consciousness, can be said to have direct vision of the Atma, Sakshatkara. The first sound emanating from the Atma which one hears is I. It is only after the emergence of I that the whole process of creation began. If there is no I, there is no creation. The term I, Atma and Brahman are all synonymous. The I not associated with the mind is Atma. The I associated with the mind is Mithyatma, pseudo self. There is only one Atma, that is the real I. Man undertakes a variety of spiritual exercises to realize the one that subsumes the many. In fact, all the endeavors made in quest of the Atma are born of ignorance. The Jnani, realized person, makes no such endeavors. All the efforts made by men to realize the one are only attempts to satisfy the mind, when what is required is the elimination of the mind for experiencing the one. It is futile to strengthen the mind for this purpose by so-called spiritual sadhanas. If you seek to embark on sadhana, you must first get rid of the anatma bhava, identification with the body-mind complex. To experience atmic bliss, you have to turn your vision towards the Atma. In reality, all efforts made for experiencing Atmic bliss are aberrations of the mind. Seeking liberation, man adores a myriad deities. Of what avail is all this when all the different religions have declared that there is only one God? These pursuits are products of a deluded mind. As long as the mind exists, desires will persist. When desires are present, attachments and possessiveness cannot be got rid of, and these sustain the ego. While the ego lasts, the Atma cannot be experienced. Atmic knowledge, Atmic bliss, and Atmic vision cannot be had till the ego is eliminated. From the Brahman to the Brahman, the mind, the buddhi, the chit, and ahankara, from where did they originate, how do they grow, and where do they merge themselves? That is the Brahman, that is the Atma. That being the case, how can you discover your source or your true self? By searching for it elsewhere than within you. Such a search is like that of a thief putting on the uniform of a policeman and searching for the thief. To know your own self, why do you need any assistance? There is a story which illustrates the absurdity of such a situation. 10 ignoramuses who were in a group attempted to cross a river. After crossing the river, they wanted to assure themselves whether all the 10 had crossed the river. One man started counting and noted that only 9 had crossed the river and started wailing that the 10th man must have been swept away by the river. Each of them counted the others in the same manner, leaving out himself, and found one man missing. A passerby noticed their plight and enquired them the cause of their distress. They all said that one of the 10 in their group had been lost in the river. The intelligent traveler found that while counting, each one had left out himself and counted only the remaining 9. Lining them up in a row, he counted all the 10 and revealed to them that earlier at each count, the man doing the counting had left himself out. This indicates that the individual who is not aware of himself cannot understand anything right. When you are yourself the Atma, if you pray to someone outside, how can you recognize the Atma? Unity that underlies the apparent diversity, the one willed to become the many. Hence, you must realize the unity that underlies the apparent diversity. All the myriad forms you see are reflections in a mirror of your own image. You are ignoring the primary form and are concerned about the images. This is the delusion you are afflicted with. Brahman will elude the one caught up in bharam, delusion. All the sadhanas you do are of little use for realizing the Atma. They may help to tranquilize the mind, but what you have to do is to eliminate the thought process of the mind altogether. Calming the mind is only a palliative. The mind will get agitated again. Only those sadhanas which aim at eliminating the mind will be of use in the Atmic quest. Come out of egoistic delusions. It is the identification with the body that is causing the ahem ego to flourish and grow. The feeling I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am achieving success is growing constantly in man. Dear students, you must realize that victory or defeat is not the result of your actions or sadhanas. Immersed in your egoistic delusion, you are imagining that you are the architects of your fortunes. You can see in the world numerous instances of failure in spite of heroic efforts. You can also see examples of successes achieved through very little effort. Instead of quoting failure, relying on your own efforts, and getting dissipated, put your trust in God and offer all your actions to Him. You have to realize that little depends on your efforts alone. You can have proofs of this in your own body. For instance, what efforts are you making to see that your heart beats regularly? How far are you responsible for the breathing process that goes on continually? What is your contribution to the digestive process that goes on within you? Are these the results of human efforts? No. Can you continue to live merely by wishing that you should go on living? Are you able to end your life when you wish it? Are you responsible for your birth? Not at all. When you inquire into this problem, you will realize that it is your sense of doership and enjoyership which is causing all difficulties. All actions done by men today are intended to satisfy the mind. But, however much you may try to satisfy the mind, it can never feel contented. What is this mind? It is Maya, delusion. It is desire. It is ignorance. It is Prakriti, the phenomenal world. It is Bhranti, aberration. Immersed in this mental aberration, if you wish to realize the Brahman, how is it possible? You are afraid of your own shadow. Your thoughts frighten you. The truth is there. The truth is there is only the one. It is called by different names. It is the Atma. The Pandits describe the Supreme as Sat Chit Anand, being awareness, bliss. This is not correct. He is Sat, he is Chit, and he is Anand. These are not three different qualities of the divine. He is the embodiment of each of them. Believing mithya, you are giving up satya. Some people resort to meditation in the belief that there is some power greater than themselves which they must experience. People also undertake arduous exercises to realize some secret, mysterious, and marvelous power other than themselves. This is action born of ignorance. As long as you think that there is something higher than yourself, you are steeped in ignorance. There is nothing higher in the world than yourself. But belief in the existence of such a power is a creation of your mind. For example, in a dream, you see all kinds of scenes and have various experiences. How far are these real? Only as long as you are in the dream state. When the dream ends, the scenes become unreal. Likewise, as long as you are in a state of mental delusion, the joys and sorrows, the gains and losses you experience are all real. When the delusion is removed, they all become unreal. Hence, all the phenomenal experiences caused by delusion are mithya, real, unreal. Basing your life on this mithya, you are giving up satya. Identifying yourself totally within the body, you are encouraging the ego to grow. If you grasp one simple truth, you will develop a wide vision. There is nothing in the world separate from you. All the diverse objects are images of the One. For all worldly things, there is a Karta, a creator, karma, causal action, and kriya, the end product. In the sphere of the spiritual, however, there is only the karta, creator. There is no kriya. He is the doer. He is also the one who gets things done. He is the outcome of what is done. The Atmic principle, which represents the unity of all these three, is the one that pervades the entire cosmos. It is the universal consciousness. It is impossible for it to be present in some and not in others. The, cos- the cosmic consciousness. It is this cosmic consciousness that has been presented to the common people as Sat Chit Anand so that they can comprehend its nature. The Vedantins looked upon these three as reflections of each other. These three have also been called Asthi, Bhati, and Priyam in Vedantic parlance. In fact, all three are one and the same. When one says, here is a tumbler, the isness is Asthi. This is Sat. We are seeing it. The quality of being perceivable is Bhati. This is Chit. Cognizability. Cognizability. I am enjoying it. This is Priyam or Anand. Sat, Chit and Anand are one. It is one and the same thing which shines and which gives Anand. Though there is only one, because of our mental processes, we are seeing it is many forms, it is it in many forms and names. Hence, Atam Tattva, the true nature of the Atma, is to be experienced by recognizing the unity underlying the diversity. The Atma spirit has no form. It is capable of assuming the form of the container which it fills. When air is filled in a balloon, it has the form of the balloon. When it fills a football, it has the form of the football. When it is present in a Pneumatic pillow, it has the form of the pillow. Air thus has no form, but it has one quality, that is Chaitanya, consciousness. Conscience is a part of consciousness. It is not easy to understand this quality of Chaitanya, consciousness. When you want to understand the nature of consciousness, you have to understand one part of it, namely conscience. Conscience is a witness. It is also known as awareness. In the waking state, there are these three levels of understanding: being conscious of the objective world, the conscience and the consciousness. The first state is related to the senses, conscience is related to the mind, consciousness is related to the Atma, the spirit. These three divisions have been made for the purpose of understanding and grappling with the concerns of daily life. This process may be illustrated by an example. For instance, a conference of doctors is held in a hall. There can be different specialists present in the hall, but all are described as doctors. Each one must have specialized in one part of the body, the heart, the ear, the brain, or other limb. The body is one, but for the purpose of specialization, it is divided into many parts. Likewise, all are embodiments of the Atma, but for the purpose of earning a living, one may be laborer or an official or a trader or a farmer. These differences are based on the occupations pursued by different persons. They are based on the occupations and have no permanent significance. Similarly, although the Atma is one and the same in every body, distinctions are made among different persons on the basis of their physical and other characteristics and their relationships. One's interest in these distinctions is based on one's attachment. For instance, if there is an accident to an aeroplane, one's interest in the fate of individual passengers is increased if one's kith and kin were traveling by that plane. Otherwise, one is interested in the accident only out of curiosity. In the same manner, as long as the Atma is not considered as your own, your interest in the Atma is concerned with mere information. Once you know that the Atma is the self that is present in everyone, the process of transformation takes place. The real is only one, but as long as the mind and body remain, it is difficult to experience this oneness. In spite, however, of the difficulty, everyone must strive to discover his true self. Understand the Atma first. We have seen how the body is comparable to a chariot, the senses to horses, the mind to the reins, and the buddhi to the charioteer. But besides these, there is the master of the chariot, the Atma residing in the body. Hence, in addition to knowing how the body, the senses, the mind, and the buddhi function, you have to regard the understanding of the Atma as the primary goal. Giving up the sense of I and mine, you have to do your duty as a spiritual discipline. Kartavyam yoga muchyate. The performance of one's duty is yoga. When you practice this yoga, you will experience the joy of Atmic bliss. It is the absence of this yoga which is making man rogi, sickly. When you examine the activities of the mind with a view to finding out whether they are leading you to the bondage or to liberation, you will find that they are only leading you to bondage. The primary cause for the chaos of divisions, conflicts, disorder, and violence in the world today is the absence of the sense of oneness among men. There is urgent need for cultivating the spirit of love which will serve to promote the feeling of oneness. All education today is a process of proceeding from ignorance to ignorance. If you seek to know where is the Atma, it is the Chaitanya consciousness between one state of consciousness and another. This is not easily understandable by all. There is a state which is between waking and sleep. Few know what this state is. We seem to be in the waking state and then we close the eyes and fall asleep. Only the yogis have observed this phenomenon, that which is conscious between the waking and sleeping states is the Atmic principle. The waking state represents the Rajoguna, Sleep represents the Tamoguna. In between is the Sattva Guna, that is the Atmic consciousness. There is no penance equal to peace. There is no happiness greater than contentment. There is no worse disease than desire. There is no righteousness equal to compassion. Embodiments of love, no penance can be equal to peace. Real penance consists in not leading the life of an ascetic in a forest, but in worshipping God in thought, word, and deed. Where is the need for any penance to acquire peace, if that peace is already present in the heart? Peace can be got when one's vision is turned inward. Na santost param sukham. There is no happiness greater than contentment. How many miserable people are there in the world who have all the comforts they need? Dhritarashtra had all regal comforts and had 100 sons, but could find no peace. Creature comforts and cannot be equated with the peace. Contentment, it is said, confers the greatest happiness. It follows the true happiness resides in the heart, and everyone should seek it there. Excessive desires are the source of all ills. There is momentary satisfaction from the fulfillment of some desires, but when desires are not realized, man becomes sick in many ways. There is no more dreadful disease in the world than insatiable desire. Na cha dharmo dayasmaha. There is no right conduct equal to compassion, for the simple reason that a compassionate heart is the abode of the divine. Where there is compassion, there is no need for other acts of charity. Awareness is pure and unsullied consciousness. The Indian sages from ancient times have given the highest place of honor and esteem to the word Atma. This is also known as Eureka awareness or consciousness. This is awareness. This awareness finds expression in the term Ahem I. When this Ahem identifies itself with a bodily form, it becomes Ahankara, the ego. This ego is not the natural state of Aham. It is by relating itself to a particular form that it becomes Ahankara. It is pure and unsullied consciousness. It is the mind that comes in the way of the proper understanding of Aham. Just as the clouds that arise out of the vapors produced by The sun may hide the sun for a time. The mind veils the ahem by its thoughts and desires, though the mind arises from the Atma. The role of the mind in relation to the Atmic principle has to be properly understood. It operates as an obstacle to the awareness of the Atma. The term I, Nenu in Telugu, originated in the Atma. The I is the form of Aham. Terms like Aham, God, awareness, and Atma are all synonymous. When the Atma, when the Aham, I is rightly understood, one becomes an Atam Jnani, knower of the self. There is a fundamental principle to which the I is related. The I has no basis in the body. It has to recognize its link with its primary source. The Atmic principle is one and one only. Every object in the world has its origin in a primary source. This cannot be created by anyone. This is a primordial source which is responsible for all creation. Very few care to inquire into the nature of this source. From the worldly point of view, we have a karta doer, the karma duty, and the kriya deed. But from the spiritual point of view, all three are one and the same. The doer, the duty, and the deed. This Atmic principle is one and one only. It is said that Satchit Anand, being, awareness, bliss are the attributes of the Atma, self. In my view, these are nor three distinct entities. They are not three different states. Chit, awareness, and Anand, bliss are present in Sat like sugar, which is dissolved in water and becomes one with it as syrup. There is an illustration which explains why it is difficult to recognize the Atmic principle. There is a cup containing fruit juice. The cup is not aware of the nature of the juice. A man uses a straw to suck the juice. The straw does not know anything about the juice. The buddhi recognizes the taste of the juice. It does not enjoy it. The juice is sent down to the stomach where it gets converted to three parts: the gross, which is excreted, the subtle, which becomes blood and helps to sustain life, and the subtler goes to the prajna shakti, constant integrated awareness, which is synonymous with the self. In this analogy, the cup is the body, the straw represents the senses, prajna is the atma, prajna awareness, the I, atma, anand, Brahman are all synonymous terms. Worldly persons may see differences in these words, but in spiritual parlance they mean the same thing. Two kinds of I, attached and detached. The Aham I is of two kinds. One that is associated with attachment to the body, and the other that disassociates it from the body. Both are I, nano in Telugu, but the I that is identified with the body becomes Ahankara, the ego. The ego carries a form wherever it goes, but the formless I, not identified with the body, is the Atma. The formless Atma has no attributes, but when it is associated with a form, it has all attributes. Today, people experience only the Aham, I, that is identified with the body. They cannot conceive of an I without a body, but by treating the body as the basis, if the vision is turned inward, the Atma can be experienced in due course. This is called Atam Sakshatkar, direct perception of the self. This means tracking the I to its source. A man walking with his back to the sun will be treading his own shadow. Only when he reverses his direction will he be able to leave his shadow behind. The same process applies to the realization of the self. The journey must be directed towards the self within and away from the external world. What is needed today in the world is the diverting of the mind from preoccupation with the external world of nature to the divinity within. This is the sadhana you have to do. In this way, you see the divine in everything instead of seeing nature as a physical phenomenon. When you see the external world as a manifestation of God, you will not notice the phenomenal aspect of Prakriti, nature. View nature as a manifestation of God. How is this to be experienced in real life with its joys and sorrows? This can be understood from an example. When you sleep, you have dreams in which you experience joys and sorrows. They seem real as long as you, you are asleep. On waking, you realize that they were all unreal and mere dreams. In the waking state, you have other experiences. What is the relationship between these two categories of experiences? What you experience in the waking state is also a dream. The reality is that in both the states, the sleeping and the waking, you are present as the dreamer. The concept of Atmic principle. The difference between a dream in sleep and what happens in the waking state relates mainly to the time factor. In a dream, in a sleep, a person may go through the entire experiences of his life from childhood to old age in a few minutes. The dream compresses the experiences of many years within so many minutes. Likewise, what happens over many years in the waking state may appear as a few moments in spiritual experience. Our conception of reality is related to the time factor. Time causes great difference between what is perception, directly perceived, and what is prokshan, indirectly experienced. The Atma is the unchanging entity that is able to recognize the changes brought about by time. The awareness of the unchanging reality underlying the phenomenal world of change is the Atmic principle called Eruka. It is present in everyone as the Ahem, but each one views the world from one's particular circumstance, background, and experience. The Atmic principle is explained or described in different ways. There is no connection between its reality and the way it is experienced. The analogies used for explaining the Atmic principle have their inherent limitations. God is declared to be omnipresent. How do you decide this omnipresence? There is a practical means of deciding this. We are aware of the basic elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space, with five qualities: smell, fluidity, illumination, touch, and sound. The earth has all the five qualities, including primarily gandha, smell. Water has rasa, fluidity. It is lighter than earth and is mobile. It has four qualities. Fire has three qualities. Of his rupa, form is most prominent. It is lighter than water. Then you have air, which is lighter than fire and has two qualities: sparsh, touch, and shabd, vibrant movement. Last comes akash, ether or space, which is the subtlest of the five elements and is all pervading. Transcending space is God, who is omnipresent. Spiritual progress is related to reduction of desires. When you pursue your inquiry in this manner, you find that the different qualities account for feelings and reactions. These qualities have to be brought under control. Simultaneously, one has to reduce the burdens of mundane existence and the desires that fill the mind. Man today is weighed down by the overwhelming burden of desires. Spiritual progress is directly related to the reduction of desires. God's grace goes with human effort. Earlier, two teachers spoke about their experiences and extolled Dhava Shakti, power of the divine. But this divine power does not operate independent of human effort. In fact, every individual has this divine power. They are invoking divine power as an auxiliary to their own power, which comes from the divine. Failing to recognize their inherent divine power, they attribute it to someone other than themselves. Some devotees tend to blame Baba if their desires are not fulfilled. When devotees pray with pure hearts, their purity itself helps to bring them relief, but they are thankful to Baba for saving them. Baba is not involved in either of these results. They are the fruits of their they are the fruits of the devotees' efforts and attitudes. In our college, there is a placard that carries the saying Dharma protects its protector. It destroys its destroyer. Likewise, when your faith in the divine is total, that faith will help you develop that confidence in the self. The self is not visible even as the foundations of a big mansion are not visible, but without foundation the edifice cannot stand. Likewise, self-confidence is the base for self-satisfaction. The roof of mansion is self-sacrifice. Then you have self-realization. The self alone is eternal and changeless. Man must develop strong faith that will confer all spiritual experiences. The Upanishads declare, arise from the slumber of ignorance and go forward towards awareness of the self. Embodiments of love, whatever other beliefs you may cherish or not, have firm faith in God. All things in the world are liable to perish. The self alone is eternal and changeless. It is unfortunate that the vast majority of mankind lead mundane lives forgetting God. Make God the foundation of your life. Carry on your normal duties. Duty is God. Work is worship. Spiritualize all your actions and treat whatever happens as actions for your good. Learn to experience perennial bliss by seeking union with God. Never forget God. Do not go after the things of the world. Have no fear of death. When your life is rooted in these three maxims, you will realize the Atman. At this point, I complete this video. Thank you for watching this video. Namaskar, my dear friends. Thank you. Namaste. Namaskar.